If you've ever watched those massive military parades in North Korea, you've probably seen her. There's always a woman standing near the top with this faint smile on her face. That's Kim Yo-jong, the sister of Kim Jong-un. But you've got to know, that calm look is deceiving, because a lot of people who know what they're talking about think she's the most dangerous woman on the entire planet.
And right there, that's the big puzzle of Kim Yo-jong. On one hand, she's the smiling diplomatic face of the regime. On the other, she's this ruthless operator they call the Iron Lady. So who is she, really? How did this woman, who spent most of her life completely in the shadows, become one of the most feared figures in global politics?
So let's start with that smile. Her big debut on the world stage was, well, it was something else. It was an appearance that was carefully, meticulously planned to create a very specific and very misleading first impression.
Okay, picture this. It's February 2018, the Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang, South Korea. This was a huge deal. For the very first time since the Korean War, a member of North Korea's ruling Kim family actually set foot in the South. And that person was Kim Yo-jong.
And you know what? The global media absolutely ate it up. They were obsessed with her calm look, her easy smile. It was a total charm offensive. She was presenting this softer, more approachable side of North Korea. But behind the scenes, experts were screaming that this was all a beautifully crafted trap, a propaganda play designed to make the world let its guard down.
So how do you even create a public figure like that? To get it, you have to go back, way back. Because for most of her life, Kim Yo-jong wasn't a public figure at all. She was a complete mystery, basically an invisible princess, totally hidden from the world.
She was born sometime in the late 80s, growing up in this weird, isolated bubble of luxury that only the Kim family knows. Then, in 1996, poof, she shipped off to school in Switzerland under a fake name, joined by her older brother, Kim Jong-un. It was in that total isolation that they supposedly formed this unbreakable bond. After coming home and getting a degree, she just disappeared again, right up until 2011. That's when we saw her standing right next to her brother at their father's funeral. And that was the signal. She was now part of the inner circle.
And from that moment on, you have to understand her rise was no accident. It was a very deliberate, very calculated climb out of the shadows to become one of the most important pillars of her brother's entire regime.
Her climb up the ladder was just incredibly methodical. When she was only 23, she basically became his tour manager, which sounds simple, but it meant she controlled everything, his travel, his security, every single detail. Then, in 2014, she gets named vice director of the propaganda department, but let's be real, she immediately became the one actually running the show. And in a society like North Korea's, for a woman to gain that kind of power, it was just unheard of.
And this wasn't just some PR job, okay? She was the architect of her brother's entire public image, his personality cult. She's the one who had him dressed like their grandfather, Kim Il-sung, cut his hair the same way, copy his mannerisms. She wasn't just creating a look. She was manufacturing legitimacy. She was connecting her young, unproven brother directly to the nation's founder to cement his absolute grip on power. It was brilliant and terrifying.
So for years, she was this silent force, pulling the strings behind the throne. But then came the moment where that friendly, smiling mask wasn't just dropped, it was ripped right off, revealing the ruthless operator the world is so afraid of today. So fast forward to April 2020. Kim Jong-un just vanishes. He's gone. For weeks, nobody sees him. The world's intelligence agencies, the media, they all go into a complete frenzy. Everyone is speculating that the dictator is either on his deathbed or already dead. It looked like a massive power vacuum was about to open up.
And into that deafening silence, a new voice emerges, a thundering voice. For the very first time, Kim Yo-jong issues a statement in her own name. And it was not diplomatic. It was a blistering attack on South Korea, calling them a barking dog shaking with fear. The message was loud and clear. My brother might be gone, but I am here, and I am in charge.
Now, when Kim Jong-un finally did reappear a few weeks later, was she punished for grabbing the spotlight? Nope, just the opposite. She was rewarded. She was put back on the Politburo, the most powerful decision-making body in the country, with even more authority than before. That one event proved it. She wasn't just an advisor anymore. She was the regime's undisputed Iron Lady.
And her record since then? It's just chillin'. Intelligence sources claim she was a key player in the execution of her own uncle back in 2013. She's been linked to the assassination of her half-brother, Kim Jong-nam. She's the one who personally ordered the demolition of the Inter-Korean Liaison Office in 2020, a huge symbol of peace, just blown up. And there are reports that officials have been executed for doing something as simple as not showing her enough respect.
This ruthlessness, it's also in her language. She has become the regime's official attack dog, personally hurling insults at world leaders that are often way more extreme than anything her brother says. Like in 2023, when she just dismissed President Joe Biden as an old man with no future.
And she didn't stop there. She has repeatedly, publicly, called the South Korean president America's hungry dog. This kind of rhetoric shows a level of raw aggression that has a lot of analysts really worried. It suggests that when she gets angry, she might be even more dangerously outspoken than Kim Jong-un himself.
So her power is now rock solid. But what does all of this mean for the future? For North Korea, yeah, but also for the rest of us?
I mean, look at her portfolio today. She is, for all intents and purposes, the de facto #2 leader in the country. She's still the propaganda chief, she's a top decision maker, and she's become the primary mouthpiece for the entire nation. A lot of experts have just started calling her a female co-dictator, running the country right alongside her brother.
And if you need any more proof, just look at this. In recent times, she's the one who has issued over 40 official statements on behalf of the regime. That used to be a job that was reserved only for the supreme leader. Her voice is now, quite literally, the voice of the North Korean state.
You know, history has seen ruthless female rulers before. Think of Empress Wu Zetian in China or Queen Mary Tudor in England. They ruled through fear, through bloodshed. But here's the terrifying difference. None of them had a nuclear button. None of them had total technological control over a completely sealed-off society. Kim Yo-jong has both.
And this brings us to the bottom line. This isn't just speculation. High-level defectors, international intelligence experts, they are all in near total agreement on this one point. If Kim Jong-un were to die suddenly, she is the one who would take over. His own kids are way too young. She is the undisputed heir.
Which leaves us with a question that is, frankly, terrifying. We've seen her go from a smiling diplomat to an iron-fisted ruler in waiting. So, is the world at all prepared for the first-ever female dictator of a nuclear-armed state? A dictator who's already shown that she might be even more aggressive and more ruthless than her brother. That question, it isn't a hypothetical anymore. It might just be a matter of time.